The one primary question on the Philadelphia Eagles is who is going to start opposite Quinyon Mitchell. The Eagles have an incredible defense last year, #1 defense in the National Football League. Do you believe Jaire Alexander makes the Eagles unstoppable?
Let me get this straight, because I love Jaire Alexander. He's that good. Locked down when he's healthy. But the Eagles, we don't really need much, though, dog. And this ain't a take against him, it's a take against us.
Yeah.
We that nice, but we don't need all that. Because all we did last year is put belt to booty. Bop, bop, bop.
Like
we did to the NFC side, and then we went to the big dogs, to the AFC, did the same thing to them.
I don't think there's no such thing as unstoppable. Like, unstoppable means you are unbeatable. The Eagles got beat last year.
Okay, man. I got a lot of things to say about this, even though it's a short clip. Go watch the original. I'm going to take apart a lot of their takes and then, reassemble it and take it bit by bit. But, man, first off top, man, I got to agree with Emmanuel Acho. Like, top down to bottom, where exactly are the holes on this roster? Like, he goes on to mention that we have cornerbacks, nickelback, Cooper DeJean, and we have, Quinyon Mitchell, who's going to be our top guy this year. But I would argue he was, that guy last year. You look at his side versus Slay's side, people stayed away from his side, far more than did Slay. And Slay was in and out of the lineup dealing with injuries, by no choice of his own because he got, cheap shotted by the offensive lineman tackle in New Orleans, and that set him back for the, remainder of the season, recurring injury. But, have those guys, and then we have, Reed Blankenship, man, in one safety position. We'll see about the other one. We'll get to the holes there. But inside linebacker, Zach Bond, who was my, defensive player of the year. I mean, the dude was just amazing, coming out of nowhere. Vic Fangio saw it, though. Recognized talent. Interior, you got Jalen Carter, you got Jordan Davis, who, improved as the year, went along. I'm interested to see how he continues to evolve this year and maybe steps up, plateau in his play. You have, the guys coming in, behind him, Moro Jomo coming off the bench, but, at the second best pressure rate in the league, I think second or third behind, behind Chris Jones and then Milton Williams, his teammate, Moro Jomo. I think 18%, win rate. Pass rush win rate. So, amazing. Then you have, Jalix Hunt. He's going to be stepping into his own, but, he's shown signs that he could potentially be that guy across from Nolan Smith, who, his star burgeon last year had, including playoffs, 10.5 sacks, 6.5 in the regular season, 4 in the playoffs. So he was just, getting off. And then, including the guys that, we drafted this year, like I said, Cooper, we'll see what he is, but, he's been compared to guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So, we have a, just stacked roster, good mix of, youth and, veteran players, young veteran players. Jalen Carter's only in his third year. Zach Bond, he's like the elder statesman of the, of the, the defensive side. He's, 28, and, to have a guy, in his prime stepping into that, hasn't had a lot of wear and tear, career backup. Special teamer. And he's hitting his stride now. Just excellent. Nicole Benin, we'll see what he is when he comes back. But, we'll get to those holes. One corner spot. We'll see whether, I'm forgetting his name, former USC cornerback, former Titan star, Dory Jackson, if he can win that job, whether he'll be, certainly a downgrade from Slade, even given his advanced age. But, he's a guy that, we don't need someone who can, can play an all-pro level. Just a guy that can be adequate there, would be, fine. And then, we've experimented with Cooper DeJean, and we'll see, get to that point later. But he might be playing in a base package, base personnel. But the other guy, my name, is mine, Keely Ringo. We'll see, whether he can, fit that bill. But I at least want to, see him try. Why? Because there's reasons below that, give us some financial incentive to do that, as well as other reasons. Safety, yeah, C.J. Gardner-Johnson's gone every year he plays in that secondary. We go to the Super Bowl. So, that's crazy. But, future cap problems, that's why they, they sent him off to the Texans And I get it, man. I wasn't a fan of the move, but looking at the roster, years moving forward, next couple, 3 to 5, even 2 to 3, we're gonna have to pay some of these guys that are on the roster now and are at a great discount to us, giving us a great advantage. Then the other side, starting linebacker spot, we drafted Jaire Campbell, even though he's not going to be able to practice until training camp in August. But, yeah, man, like Nakobe Dean, he really, burst out into the scene, 130 tackles, had a Pro Bowl season last year. Just he got injured, playing the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round. So that set us back. But like I said, Jaire Campbell coming in behind him, and then Trotter Jr. starting in lieu of him. We'll see, what he's able to bring, to the table. Is he able to take leaps and bounds in his second year? Because we've seen explosive growth, with these guys. Nolan Smith, people thought he was a bust coming off of, his rookie year, and then he does what he did last year, getting all that playing time that really expedited, his learning curve, his learning process. So, other than that, yeah, good luck. Number 2, Shady's on the spot, spot on. We don't need Alexander. There are options there. Like I said, Keely Ringo. I really want to see what we have in him. He's in his 3rd year. He's, cost prohibitive. Or I might be, saying that wrong. He's gives us a great amount of savings and flexibility. And then Adoree Jackson. We didn't pay him much because he was coming off of kind of a, I think maybe injury plagued year, and then kind of a bounce back year as far as his play. But a veteran guy who can be solid, that's all we need. We don't need someone who's going to go out there and be a risk liability. Similar to Trayvon Diggs, a gambler. Gonna be putting other guys in a bad situation and in a bad position to cover. Like Reed Blankenship does so much for us. He erases other guys' mistakes. So like, I don't care if the guy's not out there, shining. If he's out there doing his job and he's able to hold down the fort and not get abused, I'll take that as a win. And I think Adoree Jackson. Keely Ringo has a lot of potential. We'll see at training camp. That's going to be a heated battle. And then Howie always has the room to go out there and make a move if he sees fit. We'll see. But number 3, also he brings about his own set of problems, health and displacement. So he's missed, I think, over the course of the 3-4 years, like half of the games that were available for him to play. And when he's been on the field, Pro Bowl talent, erasing guys like Justin Jefferson, and or at least dealing with him and playing in that NFC North, a lot of competitive receivers, J-Mo, Jameson Williams, St. Brown. So give him his props, but he's 28, I believe, and we don't need someone who's not going to be available. Even Slay, he was, the best ability is availability, and he was better than Jaire by, way of him being on the field, and in displacement. If he comes in, he sets back the growth of, those young guys. We could maybe have Eli Ricks, step up. I'm not saying that he will, but, I at least want to see that pan out. He's taking snaps away from those guys if he's in there, in the building, and in that spot, and yeah, he comes with a lot, his attitude, I'm not sure that, we need that kind of dude, here in the locker room. I don't know about that, man. We'll get that a little bit later, but, why those issues are in place, but, that's it. We're just speaking about on the field, can he stay out there? Can he stay healthy? And then, taking away, that development time from guys like Keely Ringo, who I really want to see this year. We spent a futures 3rd round pick, for him, basically. So he's a 4th round pick, but he's a 3rd rounder because, what we gave up to get him. Number 4, I agree with Chase. And that doesn't happen that often. I'm often chasing him out the fucking screen. But once again, disagree with Chase as well. And that happens more times than not. Yes, we're not unbeatable, but bro, who is? It's a year-to-year league, and really, it's like in quarters. Who catches fire, who catches lightning in a bottle, who's able to stay healthy. Those small things or things that may not be the main, they all segue and correlate, build into one another, and you can't have one without the other. The Bengals on fire on offense, defense sucked ass, so they weren't able to make the playoffs. Kept them out. A dangerous team was sitting at home, so they didn't earn the right to be there. People say if woulda, shoulda, coulda. Can't worry about all that. They weren't even available. But yeah, of course, we're not unbeatable, but we're the closest thing to unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? We have the best roster in the league. Have so much young talent. Salary cap savings by not going out and acquiring our talent. Majorly via trade or majorly via free agency or other guys. We're developing our own homegrown talent. Most of the talent on this roster has been picked by us, or we're picking up guys like Zach Bond and getting career years and savings. So we know how to use the proverbial scrap heap. Number 5, Chase question is the real one. Is he worth 18 to 20 million? In my opinion, no. And Chase gets that later. He says no, because that would prohibit us from being able to do other things, spend in other areas, continue to pay our own guys. Howie is huge on that, and he identifies talent early, keeps them at a low cost, and then flips that, turns it around, and that saves us future dollars, and it allows us flexibility to go out and make the moves that he loves to make. Because it's not all worth. It's not at all worth entering a bidding war when cheaper, more impactful, better use of resources for better value is available. Yeah, I'd much rather put that money elsewhere. Go out and get a prodigious talent on the edge, if you want to, or whatever roster movement maybe need to be made throughout the year when inevitably some injury is going to happen. Don't know where, don't know how, and we might have to make some moves. We have the draft capital back that up, but the financial as well. Being able to have the flexibility is a huge flex because most teams can't do that. And 18 to 20 million, I don't want that, because with that comes a kind of like, you got to play this guy, man. We shipped out Bryce Huff because with that salary, we can't just sit him on the bench, man. You got to do something with him. So, unfortunately, we were able to get something for him, but he's off the books, kind of, for this year at least. But that's a huge burden lifted. And now we can, do other things heading into the future because we no longer have that albatross hanging around our neck. Number 6, who do we have to deal with? CeeDee Lamb and George? Great potential, but I need to see it first, and I think we already match up well because CeeDee spends a lot of his time on the inside, and Cooper DeJean, I trust him to, deal with him. He's going to get better this year, grow into that role. But if we primarily, slot him in there, no pun intended, in the slot, I trust him to deal with CeeDee. And then, the revolving pieces around him, deal with him as a team. Whereas, we look at 2022, 2023, the way we dealt with him previously, with other coordinators, they just, we were outmatched. But Vic Fangio, how these guys playing in unison, in sync, within the structure of the defense. He saw it in the Super Bowl, the elite potential. Just, we make fools out of, these guys. So, and George, he's so mercurial. We locked him down when he was the only threat. No, he didn't play. Sorry. Excuse me, I misspoke. But he can be taken out of the game mentally, so I don't trust him. Debo and Foreign Whip, a.k.a. McLaurin. Debo, I think he's past his prime. He's not going to be as good. Good second fiddle, solid second fiddle, but it depends on a lot. McLaurin, yeah, but I like Quinyon too. Send him to Guantanamo Bay. Not worry about Neighbors. He's one guy. And Neighbors, he ain't got none to help him, so we good. All right, number 7. I disagree with James Jones that we need that self-absorbed energy of Jaire. I think the guy is, I'm not saying he's the ultimate me guy, but he cost himself, I think it was a start this year or in 2023 when, he went on the team, on the field when he wasn't supposed to be out there. That's just immaturity, man. And, that either cost him the game or could have cost him the game. Don't want, those me first guys, on the squad. So And then, him coming in as elder statesman, coaching up the younger guys and setting the kind of mood for the culture. We don't need that. Don't need that at all. Because 2023, we had some guys come in who were just playing for themselves, or that were here, playing for themselves, and we got rid of the element. Lo and behold, went to the Super Bowl, won it all. So I think he's a bit too much self-focused for our locker room dynamic, man. And we saw, like I said, we saw that in 2023. I don't want to repeat that. I want to go back. I want to go forward. All right, number 8, Jaire is not needed for Cooper to be the queen chess piece. He already was, was that. We were going to do that, anyway. So that was the plan coming into 2025. And it's ridiculous notion that he's going to be a major player at safety, barring injury. Like, I don't see Cooper, I see him as a corner. I mean, him moonlighting, Vic, people are taking Vic at his word when, he made no definitive guarantees there. I don't think, that's his best fit. Later in his career, yeah, but I think he's an excellent corner, man. Has the size, has the speed, has the instincts. He's just an excellent zone corner. And, what you need more in this defense, more than man, is playing zone. Ability to do it, of course. He can do that as well. We saw that throughout the year, especially in the Jaguars game when he came down in the box, put hands on people, laid hands on them like he was Jesus, and, whatnot. But I think the far more valuable skill in this defense is zone and being able to understand principles and know, where you're at. And Nick, we have to do a lot of that. The flexibility he had, playing last year and then, playing there in base. I think we can do a lot, man. And I'd rather see him there than to see, us turn it over to somebody like Jaire coming from the outside, That's a gamble. You don't know how he'll play in defense ultimately. And if he'll disrupt the feng shui of everybody around him, and playing as a unit. But I think this is the last one we're gonna get to here. Shady's correct. We put belt to ass like a parent meting out punishment to everybody that mattered. Don't want to hear about the Bucs game, yeah, because we had injuries and it's mitigating circumstances. Go back to 2023. We beat them healthy, 25-11 in their house. So don't want to hear it. And also the lesser team, in a struggling defense. They struggle against them, though, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I mean, they made some moves, got more receivers, but, got too many already, on the field at once. Anyway, there's only one ball. But, yeah, we lost to them. We lost to the, the Commanders, and then, the NFC Championship game, we showed what was going to happen if Jalen stayed in that game. Bap, 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 as Shady said. But anyways, I'm not going to keep belaboring the point because, yeah, I think we're the most complete team. And, yeah, I just realized I got one of these off, but, I'm going to get the fuck out of here because, hey, you're not even watching, though, but it's all good because I love making these videos and I love talking about the freaking stinking Philadelphia Eagles. So when the chunk deuces officially, but as always, it's fly, Eagles, fly, and let's motherfucking go.
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Thanks for watching. Check me out at Cintron, Cintron Anime, Cintron Life, or Cintron Laughs, or other social media.